Good morning, Stephen Lee. Anne, welcome. Good morning. Happy, what is it? Is it Wednesday already? The week is just flying by. Stephen Lee has correctly pointed out with his first comment on the live chat that he is a repeat offender. I mean, a repeat winner. Sorry about that, Stephen. And now owns the internet for the second time. Congratulations. You did marginally well with it last time. Do better this time and we'll all be happy. Abby, good morning. How's the UK doing today or tomorrow? How far ahead of you are, Bus? No, it's today still. Good morning. Wonderful to see you here. Asmith Clark, good to have you back as well. How's everything going with you? It's going to be a fun day today. We've got a few good cases we want to follow. I know right now there's like the Pike massacre case going on. That's been going on for quite a while. We have not been following that one, and I probably won't unless something happens. I'll probably follow it after the fact. I don't have enough eyeballs to follow all the cases. Abby is handing out drinks all around. Good morning. Thank you, Abby. Appreciate that. Ginger, good morning. Congratulations to Stephen. Yes, he was recognized. Let me actually get the chat working. Thanks for the reminder there. Okay, so we have Stephen Lee is the winner. And you can't see it yet, but now you can. Okay. All right, we'll get that set up so it works properly throughout the day. Key off. Lots of tech stuff to make this all happen. But wonderful to have you guys here. Abby, so Stephen's grateful. So Abby says UK is windy today. Cool and windy. It's that's a common weather situation for you guys, I think. Let's get you here. Wow, oh man. I've got some correction from you guys, some tips, some very friendly advice, which I appreciate wholeheartedly. Several of you have called into the show, either on the hotline. I've had several emails from you. People have reached out on my Instagram, on Twitter, and just had amazing things to say as far as encouragement for me, and just some advice. And I'm grateful for it because I am new to this and I'm not good at it, right? This isn't like a professional thing that I've trained for or know how to do. And I want to make the show better for you guys. And one of the things you guys have mentioned is I have ADD, right? And maybe you were the first to diagnose it, but it sure shows up when we have 4 court cases going on at once that are incredibly interesting and live chat. And I have a difficult time finishing a thought all the way through. And so I'll apologize for that. I will try to do better, because it does me no good to tell you half of what I'm thinking. So if I get off base, feel free to just be like squirrel in the chat and remind me where I was. And I'll try to group all my comments into sections so that you guys aren't left dizzy watching this saying, where are you? What's happening? Yeah. So we'll talk about that here a little bit. Let me bring me on. And then me off. How about that? Okay, there we go. Lots more people popping in. Dallas K, good morning. Donna, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Tyler Lewis, love the setup. Is it easy to work monitoring all at once? No. And Tyler, one time if I do like a behind the scenes show, I will put up on screen. Your screen will basically be the big screen that I can see. And you'll just get an idea of, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 boxes I monitor plus my live feed. And some of them are controlled by computers and then soundboards and buttons and iPads and stuff. So it is a lot to do, but I love it. I'm not complaining. Trust me, I love this. But yeah, so that is Tyler. There's your comment. I'm going to try to put everyone on the screen. That's one of the advice I got, is to make sure I put the comments on the screen when I'm reading them, because sometimes it's hard for people to follow. So I'll try to do better at that as well. Lots of goals to improve today. So let me know how I'm doing. If there's an area you think I could improve, trust me, I won't be offended. You know, I'm like that prosecutor or the defense lawyer in the Parkland trial who says I've got thick skin, but I really do. I really do appreciate your input, because this is your community, right? You're coming here for something that's bigger than just me talking, and so I want to add what I can to that environment for you and make it a fun place for you. Practice makes perfect, says Donna. I will keep practicing then. Maybe one day we'll get there. Good morning, everyone. Roxanne, great to have you here this morning as well. Papa Smurf, who's Papa Smurf? Is that me? Let's see. We've got a message. Oh man, I'm already falling behind on chat. I apologize. We've got a message from Age of Diminishing Returns, which is just a phenomenal username, and it slipped my mind just for a minute there. Stephen Lee says, Stephen Lee, who owns the internet today, just so you know, if you have any problems, give him a call. He says, I made another drawing just to show my support. They belong to you now, Recovery Addict. Stephen, your drawings are amazing. I appreciate every single one of them. Thank you. I'll see if I can maybe start using them in a thumbnail or something. I really need to improve my thumbnails. I don't know what to put on the picture. I mean, what do I say? I don't know what's going to happen during the day necessarily. I don't want to just have a screenshot of a court video. But I want you to be able to look at my video and have an idea of what's coming from the picture. So one more area I need to work on. Good Wednesday morning. Yes, it is hump day, says Abby. We're halfway through the week. We're halfway to our uplifting day. On Saturday, we're going to have a day where we just take a break from the trials because the courts won't be in session on Saturday, and we might reflect briefly of where we left everything from the week. But we're gonna look at something positive, something that was uplifting after looking at a week of some of the scum of the earth, really, and committing some just horrendous crimes. We want to have something to balance that out. So we're halfway to Saturday. I still have to think of what to call that show as well, the uplifting show. Azimuth up in Pennsylvania says it's actually warm, 60 during the day. Still haven't turned on the heat, saving on oil. Yeah, it'll get cooler, right? You guys get a nice cold winter. Good morning, folks. Carly Murphy says, welcome. Liberty Trust goes a shout out, says Recovery Addict is in the building. I mean the courtroom, right? We are. Crafty Cow says, following on Instagram now too. Love your relaxed style. Hey, this is what I do. I'm only relaxed and ADD all the time, and it's a weird combination. But Azimuth Clark, Ginger, I remember the old Dunkin' Donuts commercial. I made the donuts. I don't remember that. Someone has to point that to me on YouTube or something. That might be funnier if I have seen that. But I think you guys probably understand the humor there. Roxanne says, you're welcome. I love seeing people being first to win the internet today. Stephen is actually a repeat offender, a repeat winner. Now, that's an intentional slip there, but this is his second time owning the internet, and I have to admit there were some problems the first time. If you remember, the first time Stephen owned the internet, we had some problems with the feed on one of our channels where it was just lagging a little bit, and so I need him to do better. But I'm sure he will. He's a dedicated follower, and I really appreciate him being here. His artwork is amazing, by the way. If you, Stephen, let me see if I can make you a mod really quickly, because I'd love if you have a channel. I know you sell some of your artwork, and if somebody's interested in that, I'd love for them to be able to take a look at that. So Stephen, you're a mod as well. Be kind, be generous with allowing people some free reign in what they do, But if you want to drop it, just one little link here. We don't want to spam chat with it, but drop a link to maybe your artwork page if people want to get an idea of what you do. That would be most appreciated. Donna says, "Bar chilly here in Nova Scotia, Canada." Yeah, you're a little up north. It gets cold there sooner. Carly says, "Did I miss if you said you had a schedule you're sticking to?" Carly, you did, but that's not your fault. It was very brief. What I'd like to do is become more predictable for you guys, so that you guys can join. This time works well for me. This time in the morning, where about 9 a.m. Eastern time, I'll jump online and we'll talk about the cases that are coming up during the day. We'll talk about what's happening. We'll talk about a little bit if something happened in the afternoon that we missed, or maybe some wrap up. Talk about you guys. Talk about what cases you'd like me to follow, or maybe give my take on. That's what this is going to be, and it'll be about an hour, maybe two, depends on how much everyone wants to talk and what's happening. And then in addition to that, if we have a big case, if we have some live video that we can follow, something that you guys are interested in, I'd like to watch it with you. I'd like to go live during the day, and we can talk about it and analyze it. And then I'm also looking around, because on YouTube, one of the features that YouTube has on the analytics program or side is that I can look and see when viewers are online, when they're watching my videos. And about 9 p.m., you guys all have nothing else to do than watch videos. Apparently, that's like, it's like a line across the week on the timeline. That's when people are on. Maybe I can become available, and maybe not every night, but just we can do some wrap up. We can do some talking. We'd be looking back on the day, because by 9 p.m. pretty much most of the courts are over. There wouldn't be a lot of live video. But Carly, in answer to your question, we're 9 a.m.s every morning, Monday through Saturday. That's what I'm shooting for. If I have to miss a day, if I've got something that interrupts my schedule there, I'll try to let you know in advance, so you guys aren't waiting or worried about me or anything else. But Abby says, "Call Recovery Addicts burner phone." Yes, I love this message. I actually have a message I'd like to play. This is from, I mentioned it earlier, it's from Age of Diminishing Expectations. He actually left me two messages, and I just have part of this I'm going to play here this morning, because some of it's like a shout out to you guys as well. So let's give that a play here right now.
Hey, recovery addict. This is the Age of Diminishing Expectations. I'm a skateboarder and a technician from Virginia. Skateboarding hobby technician job. I love your show. I really wanted to call in and just tell you how fun it is to come home 1 a.m. I'm tired as heck from work. I'm working machines all day, moving boxes. I just lay down in bed and light a cigarette, and I just watch these court trials, and it's really great to see these serious topics, but also a positive community that's just fun and is like a total release, and total opposite of me being at my job.
All right. So Age of Diminishing Returns, it is wonderful to have you here. I'm glad you're here. We have so many diverse people and diverse backgrounds that are represented here. We have people who've been, everything from engineers and scientists to, stay-at-home moms and grandmas and skateboarders. And it's an eclectic mix of people, and it's wonderful to have so many different perspectives. But yeah, thank you so much. And there's more to that message. You gave me some advice and some tips, and maybe some, a suggestion here and there. And I'll try to incorporate what I can. Obviously, there's a lot to what I'm doing right now, and I'm still making it a process. Right, I'm still trying to figure out how to. Steven's already, sorry, that was a squirrel moment. I'm still trying to figure out how to streamline my day so I can make it not take up all my spare time preparing for the next show. Steven, on the other hand, here was the new mod. I might have to take away your privileges already, Steven. You own the internet, but he says, "Give me food or I'll ban you." LOL. Apparently, he wants a sandwich. Can somebody send Steven a sandwich? Churchy, welcome. It's good to have you. Some of you are available all day, every day, and it's wonderful to have you come in. True Celtic says, another Virginia boy. Yes, I'm just south of you guys. I'm just in North Carolina, so not far away at all. Hey, who is that guy? He sounds a lot like me, says Criminal Scum. Well, the name he left was Age of Diminishing Expectations, and that might not be the same name that we know him by on this chat, but that's who he said it was. So Elizabeth gives a shout out. Stay-at-home moms represent. Stand up. Yep. More power to you guys. The true amazing work that happens in this country and around the world really is what moms do in the home. That cannot be overstated. It is incredible. I'm so grateful my wife is able to do that and has done that for our children. It's made all the difference in the world. Love you guys. You are amazing. You're doing great work. Please keep it up. As my wife would say on her channel, what you're doing is important, and you're doing better than you think you are. So I'll steal that from her briefly. Stephen Lee says, add pickles, please, to the sandwich. Angie is handing out donuts. We've got Azimuth with the sandwich. It's wonderful. Okay, let's get to some crime stuff, right? This is what we came for. Yesterday, I went live. I didn't warn anybody, but I went live just for a little bit. It was like half an hour because I found a video. I think Law and Crime put it together, actually, where they had it was the interaction of the Parkland Shooter Trial, where the judge was had been asked by the defense to have. Let me word this correctly. The defense had made a motion to the judge to have her tell the prosecution to tell the victims not to ridicule and point blame at the defense and the jury in their victim statements. So it's a little convoluted there, and it's a little weird. And honestly, we sort of missed the beginning because they were on break when this started. It was sort of handled off camera, and then the cameras roll mid comment from the defense. I wanted to show that this morning. We showed it yesterday. The reason I like this video is because at the point where the judge is talking about specific offensive behavior by the defense, they've actually dubbed in or overlaid that video so we can see what happened. So if you missed this unbelievable moment where the defense was extremely disrespectful to the court and laughing about it, you'll see it on this video. So it is a few minutes long. I'll stop it here a little bit. I'll try to let them just talk. But basically, it's going to start with a prosecutor. Here, let me bring it up on screen so you can see. We're on camera 6 for this one. Okay, so what we have on the screen, this is a freeze frame right now. We have the prosecutor or the defense, in black, standing up. The judge is on the far corner on the left. You can see the Parkland Shooter is in orange on the far right. The people sitting at the bench closest to us are the defense, the prosecution. But that's the stage here, and we're going to start with the gentleman who's standing up from the defense, asking the judge to basically tell them to back up, tell them to dial it down, to tamp it down. You know, he's worried that the emotions and the anger against the defense and the jury is escalating in these victim statements, and he's worried that it will actually escalate into violence outside the courtroom. So let's give this a quick listen.
Judge, I'm standing here and I see that Jeff Marcus jumped up really quickly. But no one jumped up when people were referring to karma acting in the universe. No one was jumping up when they were referring to the defense children. No one jumped up to try to tap down that rhetoric. That is the rhetoric that I'm talking about. That is what I'm trying to be very clear on. Jeff Marcus, the state, they can hide behind their arguments. But we all are witnessing what is occurring in this courtroom.
Which is myself. I'm a judge.
And
I understand that I'm in charge of the decorum. And I feel that 99% or a great percentage of what has been said has been appropriate. Everybody has maintained decorum. But for a few comments, it's best to just move on as opposed to highlight them.
This is true, Judge. But I am witnessing a building of momentum, and I'm encouraging the court to direct the state to tap down on that momentum so it does not reoccur and it does not become a theme. Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, for the record, the only thing the state has said to any of these witnesses when they get up is, would they like to say something on behalf of the victim they're representing? There's been no encouraging or inciting, as Mr. Weeks has put on this record. That is a blatant falsehood and a recreation of the record. As far as no objections being made, it's the defense that could have objected. It's not the state's duty to object to their own witnesses when they're testifying.
Okay, so this is funny. I like this because the prosecution, they don't care really that the witnesses in their victim's statements are really going outside the bounds they're supposed to go. They don't care that they're straying from what's approved, because it's helping them, basically. It doesn't change the outcome of the case, but it's fighting their argument. It's pushing for what they were pushing for, which was the death penalty, right? It's sort of, they're on the same team. So the defense is saying, hey, you guys need to stop doing this. You need to object. And they're like, why would we object to our own witness, right? We asked them a simple question. Do you have something to say about, the loved one you lost? And then they just go. And we haven't read their comments or anything. And the defense does not want to object to, in the middle of a victim statement where you have a father, a brother, a mother, a daughter of someone who was killed in this tragic shooting, and they're testifying about how they feel and how it impacted them. What would it look like for them to stand up and say, objection? You don't do that. It's like yelling at someone during a funeral. You don't do it. There's just times that you don't talk. And even though these witnesses are going outside the bounds of where they should be, they're straying into an area that's not the purpose of these victim statements. The defense or the prosecution saying, hey, you guys should go ahead and make that objection. She knows they won't. Unless it gets really bad, they won't.
Listen, I've already heard. If you have anything else to say, you can put it in writing at a later time. I've heard from both sides more than once. That's going to be it. I've made my decision. Like I said, 99% of what's been testified to has been appropriate. I do not want to highlight the few things that were said that were perhaps not appropriate, and let's move on.
Judge, I'm asking for 20 seconds.
You can have as many seconds as you want in writing, and you can put all of your objections in writing. They've been made multiple times from your chief assistant, from Ms. McNeil, and I don't want to hear anything else. I've already heard it. Is there something that has not already been argued?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, exactly what is it?
Judge, before Mr. Schachter took the podium and testified before this court, I wanted to reflect that both Mr. Marcus and Mr. Satz looked at the statement prior to the reading. And so their implicit adoption of what he was saying, of this improper arguments, and the court should chastise.
Okay, but what you are doing right now is highlighting something and making more of a spectacle. So if your office in general does not want to facilitate or incite violence, then we need to just sit down and move on. That's it. There were 18 witnesses, 16 or 18 witnesses that testified today. There was nothing that was said until Ms. McNeil made her point made, and, we're moving on.
But is the court going to do anything about maybe stopping it from happening again?
When these people are upset about specific things that have gone on from that table, like shooting the middle finger up at this court and laughing and joking, Ms. McNeil, be quiet. When these people have sat in this courtroom and watched this behavior from that table, and they want to say that they're not happy about it, what is the problem?
Judge, I have no problem because I have thick skin. But once you bring in my children, I think that's highly improper. I
didn't even know you have children. I don't know.
Okay, so this is bizarre. You saw the clip there where a defense attorney literally is flipping off and judging from the position, okay, because this is where they sat throughout the whole trial. She was seated right next to the shooter, and put her right hand on the right side of the face, flipping off people on the right side. Well, who's sitting on that side? The judge is sitting on that side. She literally flipped off the judge during court. Bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And now the defense is standing up saying, hey, we don't like the prosecution behavior. Well, this has been back and forth like this through the entire trial. And so the fun part is we're not even to the best part yet. Okay, it's just ramping up.
What you're talking about, your children, what about your children?
For them to comment on my children is highly improper, and for this court to allow that kind of testimony is also improper. I don't remember any comments about any children, and if there was, it obviously didn't, it came and went without me noticing it. Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children, you would definitely notice it.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line. In fact, you're excused. You need to go sit in the back with your chief public defender.
He's the public defender, Judge.
Mr. Weeks, please ask the lawyer from your office to go sit down and not say anything else. to try to threaten my children and bring up my children is inappropriate. Go to the back of the room now. That just violated about every rule of professional responsibility that I have never. If you're going to get up here and you're going to...
Judge, I asked you to go sidebar on this matter.
You, sidebar or not, you don't have one of your assistant public defenders say something about my children?
Judge, that same venom that the court is expressing is the same venom that defense counsel had to sit through this entire morning when their children...
She brought up her children multiple times during the trial. Nobody knows if I'm barren or not. They don't know about my children.
Judge.
Sit down. Sit down.
Judge.
Sit down, Mr. Weeks.
Please do not summarily dismiss me.
I'm summarily dismissing you. Go sit down.
I'm asking the court. I asked the court to go sidebar.
Go sit down. You don't threaten the
Judge,
court's children.
Everyone in this
just
courtroom.
did that. Go sit down.
Okay. So that's where we left it. That was actually before lunch, right? And we had a couple more witnesses, and then we're going to pick up in that same trial with those same people today, this afternoon. Says she was flipping off the camera, not necessarily the judge, in my opinion. Yeah. The judge, if the judge was offended by the fact that the defense lawyer brought up her children just into the argument, I didn't see that as a threat. First of all, it didn't sound like a threat to me. But if she was offended that he even brought it up, I'm pretty sure she would see anyone flipping off the camera or anything else in the courtroom as a direct attack on the courtroom. Charlie Peterson says, judge using double standards, threaten the defense kids, but don't mention hers. Right. The one point I will bring up that counters that, I think a little bit, Charlie, is that the defense lawyer that they're speaking of, whose children were brought up and mentioned in the victim statement, the defense lawyer introduced that topic to trial herself. She presented that information that she has children and their situation and everything. That was several times she brought that into trial. So it was part of the trial. She didn't have to do that. No one else brought that in except for her. And so I see that there's a different sort of a different threshold that you'd have to set for that one. Shauna says, I think the defense played a terrible game of hardball. They were terrible, in my opinion. They were effective in doing their one goal. Really, their one goal was not to get Nicholas Cruz off free. They weren't in there to say he was not guilty. They were in there to say, don't kill him, right? No death penalty. We just want life in prison. And they accomplished that goal. So the way they played it, a lot of people are upset. The victims are very upset. It looks like the judge is upset. But yeah, that's they were effective, and they are public defenders too. And that's another factor. These guys did not sign up and they weren't the people that he flipped to in the phone book and that he's paying high dollar for. These are public defenders who were assigned to his case. It's their job. They have to do it. And this is a right. This is a constitutional right. You hear in the Miranda rights, if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Well, these are the attorneys that are provided for him. And they sort of have to do this unless they have just cause to be excused from the case, like we have in the Sarah Boone situation 6 times over. The Groove Q, yeah, it's crazy that they're upset that their children are brought into it. Now, that being said, none of these defense lawyers committed this crime, right? They're not the ones on trial. So I can see that, I wouldn't want my kids brought into something like that or mentioned or anything else, especially when there's a lot of very strong feelings going around. But it's just fascinating that it was very disrespectful. And I have to just ask, what would it have looked like if Judge Dower was there? How would this be different? We're going to set her up on a pedestal since she's already achieved sainthood, right? And say, how would she have handled this differently? And at what point would she have stepped in? Would she have stopped the witnesses initially when they started naming the defense and pointing their finger and locking eyes with each one of them and telling them basically that they were just as guilty as the defendant? How would that have gone differently in your mind? I'm curious to know. Totoro73 says they essentially lied during closing arguments that he slipped through the cracks. He didn't. Yeah, we saw in I believe it was Max, the father's witness statement or victim statement that he's the one that had all the facts, all the details about how many therapist sessions the defendant had gone to over how many years and how many different places and all the different systems that were put into place, and all the people that tried to help and were working on his behalf. And he was saying he didn't fall through the cracks. He was the grid. He was literally caught by every single mechanism, and he still did this. Let's see. Florida taxpayers paying that tab of Cruz 6 attorneys. How many did he need? Geez, Ann, when it's a death penalty case, that's standard protocol. You don't just have one public defender. A death penalty, you get like 6. It's a serious issue. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of research to be done and things like that. And so you have multiple public attorneys, public defenders that are assigned to your case. Pauline says, not like this judge yet. She would have been different for sure. Kenny says she would have sent them out. I think she would have, if you interject Judge Darrow into any one of these situations, I think she would have behaved differently. Hopefully they have a second courtroom because several people would be in it at this point. I don't care if there's a double standard. It's not okay to behave that way in court. 100% correct. 100%. And Roxanne breaks out the song. Thank you, Roxanne. Respect just a little bit. Respect just a little bit. Why didn't the lawyer giving the finger get in trouble? She did, and she probably will receive a professional or a reprimand. That's normally it's handed down in a lower court, and then it's made final in a Supreme Court of the state, and that's sometimes going to have a fine. I mean, there are ways. I mean, it's the process that you can be disbarred. So some of that could play in. Let's see. Some big lawyers are brought in from out of state to help the public defenders. Yeah, they do. Basically, the victim is entitled to an ardent defense, somebody who's really going to work hard at trying to defend them. And as wrong as that may feel to some people, I mean, I was talking with my wife last night about, how would you do this as a public defender? How does that first meeting go when you walk in with the defendant? He's like, yeah, by the way, I did it, but I want you to get me off. Is that how it begins? Or are they really saying, I mean, did he come in and say, yeah, I did it, but you guys just have to come up with a reason why I shouldn't be killed? I don't know how that works. If any of you have experience on the inside, the public defender viewpoint, I'd love to hear it. This is not a predetermined outcome from somebody who has a poor childhood. There are lots of people who come from awful backgrounds who not only just don't do bad things, but they excel and they overcome that and make a difference in the world. Judge Darrow, whole courtroom, timeout. Yep. You have to go to the back room, face the wall. Let's see. Groove says, ideally, the victims would be better to say they will advocate against gun violence, politically in the future. And I think we have seen that from a couple of the victims who have steered their comments more towards the ease of use and the culture of gun ownership in the country. It's a tough battle. It's one that is deeply ingrained in the American people. It's like it's attached to the Constitution. It's an amendment, really. The right to bear arms, the Second Amendment. It's all the way in there, right there with every other freedom they're trying to protect. But yeah, I think some people will. You'll see some of them joining movements that are pushing for tighter gun control. What about the disrespectful? The head of the PD was in fighting back to the judge when she told him to sit down. Right. This is it. This judge and this public defender's office have to work together. They have to work together every single day of her, working career for, the foreseeable future. They will face each other and, on a weekly basis type thing. And how's that going to look? I don't know. How does that judge maintain that professional relationship in the next case? And how would you feel as a defendant if you have a public defender and in their last case, the judge ordered them out of the room and to face the wall and to shut up and sit down type thing? How would you feel about going before the judge with that public defender representing you? I don't know. It raises some questions that beg answers. Shauna says, what this creature did was for attention. Everyone will know his name. Yeah, I personally didn't follow this just on my own. I didn't follow this trial during that portion. I didn't want to see that. I'm only following it now during the victim statements because I think that's the voice that needs to be heard out of all of this. Oh yeah, that's why I can never be a defense lawyer. Yeah, that's not the profession for me either. So the complaint, Just Noah is saying that the complaint, this is basically what the victims are saying in their statements in one way or another. The complaint is that they lied and made Nick worse than he was in truth, talking about like the mental illness. The degree the defense went to twist the lies into pity is what got to the speakers, right? They definitely played an emotional card, and even like a moral attack type on the jurors, saying, if you assign this kid to death row, you're going to be the one that has to sleep with it. You're going to one that's going to be up with nightmares knowing that you killed a child type thing. It's like that is such a wrong argument to make. I believe it should have been objected to by the prosecution because it was just it was an emotional argument. It wasn't based on any of the facts. But my son said she can also lose her license. Pauline, you're referring to the lawyer that flipped her off or the judge. I mean, there's arguably some issues on the judge's side as well with some of the things she said and some of the things she hasn't done. She could also be in trouble, but just know that the judge, she gets her job by being voted in. You get appointed to the bench and then you get voted in and basically it's not really a political position, but it is an elected position. So if she keeps the people happy, maybe that's why she's doing this. We'll have to look. Is she up for re-election here soon or retainment? True Celtic, enjoyed your live last night. I apologize. I missed it. I had some things come up at the last minute that I wasn't able to catch it. So maybe I can get it on the replay. I did see some of your other videos, True Celtic. We'll still have to try to meet up sometime and maybe collaborate a little bit. Okay. I'm falling way behind. I apologize. Lori, talking about the defense, they were appointed. They did their job, however, we may disagree with it. They have been unethical in our eyes, but it wasn't criminal. My son has a judge that doesn't like him, says Pauline. My son just does his best for his client. So your son's a defense attorney. I'm curious what sort of defense, what sort of attorney? Is it criminal defense? Chandra says, I'm in Michigan. I have grandkids this school age, so it's especially chilling. Right. And you saw the victim statement where the girl that spoke, she was the one that came up to the podium and it was too much. Emotionally, it was too much. She said, can you give me a minute? They took a break. She collected herself emotionally and came back and spoke. And she's the same age. She's the same age as the killer, and lost her little sister. It was very, very impactful. And comparing the impact statements to the Pelosi attack was ridiculous. Yeah, the Pelosi attack I'm trying to steer clear of right now. First of all, I'm not a huge fan of political arguments. I think that for the most part, most of this country, myself included previously, and I'm still trying to recover from that, I got too sucked into my political beliefs and basically judging other people based on whether or not they agreed with my beliefs. I'm trying very hard to change that, and it's seen these political attacks from one side or the other. It's almost like if one guy who I don't agree with says something, I have to choose the other side, even if I didn't. It's like, why do we have to be enemies over everything, right? Aren't there some areas that we can find some common grounds? On this one, the Pelosi attack, the fact that there was an attack, it's wrong. I'm not cheering anything. And all the rumors that are going around with it, I don't want to wade into that right now. Let's wait on that one until it goes to court. Let's wait until we just have some facts, and then let's look at it that way. Because right now it's just it's all political, and it's insane. It's crazy. True Celtic Mutt says the answer is not MOTR laws. It's the use of the ones already on the books. There are already too many gun laws strangling our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Very popular opinion. I'd say roughly half the country has that opinion. But one thing to think of is the other half has a different opinion. And it's a strange idea, because I'll tell you, I'm a gun owner, right? I'm not an avid gun owner. It's probably been years since I took my gun out of its safe and shot it. I just don't have time. I've got too much things going on. But for me, it's hard to imagine that somebody can look at the Constitution and say we shouldn't have the right to bear arms. But there are people that look at it and say, yeah, but that's, that was then, this is now. I feel differently, but there are a lot of people who have different opinions. And I think there's some middle ground in some areas where it might make a difference. I believe individuals should, in the U.S., as the law states right now, individuals should be able to keep and bear arms. It's in the Constitution. And I believe that's still in effect. I don't think that's expired by any means. But at the same time, there might be something we can do together as a people, not just as one side or the other, where we can stop this pandemic of firearms getting in the hands of mentally ill people. There's something we can do to help in that area, and I think if we work together, it would be better than just fighting against each other. Let's see, Donna. You've caught my disease. I cannot spell any day, which is why I talk instead of type. So the worst thing for me though is when I'm trying to dictate something to either Siri or Alexa or something, and the spell check autocorrect chooses entirely the wrong word that I did not say. That I've fallen into that trap several times. Hope they drop the hammer on a lot of them today. Mac, I think that we should have the end of the Parkland trial victim statements today, and it should go directly into sentencing. We all know what it's going to be. I do want to watch. Quite honestly, I think we're going to have an outburst from the courtroom, a lot like we had with Daryl Brooks when the jury came back with their verdict. But not sure. We'll want to watch that today and see what happens. Why are there so many rules on the impact statements during the actual law trial? Is that Florida law? Yes, we have a combination of Totoro, where are you from, first of all, before I answer that question? What state are you from? I'll give you like 30 seconds because I know it takes a while to chat and have it appear up here. I'll keep it on the screen here. I might read a few others. It doesn't take much to lose your gun rights. The laws are really stringent, says Rich Buddy. That's right. Criminal Scum says, we need more help for mental illness, not more laws. Clearly, criminals don't follow the law. That's right. Totoro, I'm going to answer this anyway. I don't see a response, but if you're not from the U.S., okay, from America, from Virginia, but live in Japan. Okay, for those that aren't from the U.S., the idea of states, it's not quite like counties. Each state has its own borders and has its own laws, and you can be in one state, driving along on the freeway with your radar detector, watching for speed traps, going a few miles over the speed limit, cross the state line, and suddenly you're committing a crime. There are boundaries to state laws. They're in effect within the boundaries of that state, and every state looks at things differently. Some of them, like there are states where it's illegal. I believe it's still the case. It's illegal in Oregon to pump your own gasoline into your car. The attendant has to do that for you. That blows me away. I'd love it if somebody would fill my car up with gas so it wouldn't splash on me or make me smell like gasoline. But I've never been in a state where that's the case. But laws can differ, and they can differ greatly from state to state. And even in the legal system, there are some differences from one state to another. And Florida has some of those laws. We know that they just struck down a few years ago. I think it was 2016. The law that lets the judge overrule a jury's verdict, and that's a state law. So there are state laws that impact things from state to state, and it makes it sort of hard for us as we watch from like a big perspective, because what was working in one trial, that might have been in Virginia, is different in a Florida trial or an Ohio trial or a New Mexico trial. So we sort of have to get up to speed on the laws for each area. You've got some great questions here, and I'm sorry I'm missing them. If you want to flag me in the questions, because we've got a lot of people here, but if you want to flag me in the questions and just tag Recovery Addict, I'll try to read those or focus my attention on those in chat. Donna says, I don't have to pump gas because I have an electric vehicle. That's awesome, Donna. I'm thinking about one of those. It'll come down the road after I get a job. Let's see here. New Jersey also, is that talking about the fuel? You can't pump your own fuel in New Jersey? Yeah, and some people are like, hey, that's weird. That's crazy. But that's the way it is. I mean, things that you accept as normal because of the state you grew up in. You cross, a few miles away into another state, and suddenly it's the complete opposite. It's like we have a lot of little countries that all fall together within one big country. And so we have our federal laws that allow like interstate commerce and things like that, saying, I can drive across one state without having to, register my car in that state type of thing. And then we have these little laws that you can really break and not know it because it's just so different from how you grew up. Wrestling Fig says weed is illegal in Wisconsin. Lame when I can buy it 30 minutes away. Yeah, that is one that's very controversial right now. First of all, I think about 35 states. I don't know. Quite a few of them have marijuana legal in some form or another, whether it's recreationally or medicinally. But others, it's like full on no, you can't. And federally, it's still legal. It's still on the registered drug list. Michael Stewart dropped the tag, says, recovery addict, it was disturbing that the defense gave the finger and laughed with the killer. Disturbing. It was. And I don't know what led up to that, right? I'll have to research further to see what the background is, but yeah, that wasn't, I don't see any situation where that would be acceptable, where that would be like, oh yeah, I can understand why they did that. Nope, not me. Max says you cannot get a carry permit. A carry permit is a license to carry a concealed weapon if you ever had an assault charge in North Carolina. That's interesting. I'm in North Carolina. I don't have a carry permit right now. I had one before I moved to this state, and I let it expire. I wasn't carrying, and it just wasn't something that was high on my priority list, even though I personally believe in that right. Miss L says, I'm a gun-carrying grandma. I hunt ducks, geese, deer, and grouse. All my kids grew up respecting all firearms. Also certified permit to carry. Miss L, that is wonderful. I'm excited. I know you're going to keep your grandkids safe, and that's awesome that you hunt. That's a part of society that is diminishing, unfortunately. A lot of people think that meat comes from the store, and don't understand that there's a very important there's an important step in there that they're missing, and they don't like to see it or know about it. They don't want to look at videos of like the slaughter farms where meat's made. But I have so much respect for hunters that actually gather their own food and participate and in not just the hunting and the harvesting, but in the protection and the control of wildlife for their benefit as well. Let's see. Katrina says, I'm from Oregon and love the gas thing. I'm in Utah now if you want to talk about weird laws. Yeah, Utah has laws about alcohol specifically that a lot of people, when they first come to Utah, where you can't buy it on certain days. And I think that's in North Carolina as well. But they also have like a very low alcohol content threshold for beer, where the joke is that if you're in Utah and you try to drink, which I don't drink, I'm just from an outside perspective, but if you're in Utah and you try to drink, you're more likely to drown than get drunk. But that's a little funny. And they have weird laws about what restaurants can serve alcohol, and that you have to buy food with alcohol, and it's funny. And Katrina, I'd love to hear what weird laws you found, either in Oregon or Utah, or any of you guys, if you have some input on that. Rich Buddy said, we had CCW carry a concealed weapon for 2 years only in California, then struck down. Right. And then we've had other places where the right to carry concealed weapon has been upheld at the supreme level. Criminal Scum says, recovery addict, you rock my jelly rolls. That's awesome. Glad I can be there for you. Yes. Japan is amazingly beautiful in so many ways. I love living here. It's super clean and safe from gun violence standpoint. Every country and every state have their issues. They do. I know for one, and tragically, Japan has a very high suicide rate among youth, and it may be related to very high expectations that are set on them. Just traditionally in a family setting, that the pressure to succeed is very high. And there's a lot of honor and things that are built into that society and that culture that other countries don't have so predominantly. But Breezy Fashizi says, when I was watching the judge dismiss the attorney in the Parkland case, it gave me a Darrell Brooks flashback. Yeah, it was you into the other courtroom. Roxanne says, don't smoke weed, but I don't like the way it feels, but I've known many that it helps them. I've heard that as well. I've had friends that have not necessarily smoked weed, but have used it medicinally in an oil form for treatment for all sorts of things, including some cancer treatments where they said it was the only thing that helped. So I believe that deserves to be looked into medically, at least. I'm still baffled as to why life was even an option for him, killing and wounding that many people. The death penalty requires an aggravating factor. And so they were trying to prove that aggravating factor. So the charges carry a life in prison on their own, and if they prove that aggravating factor, it would make him eligible for the death penalty. The jury acknowledged that the state proved that factor. They met that level, but then they also said that because of the mitigating factors that the defense had brought up about mental illness, about his IQ, his development, his frontal cortex, I forget what they said. The fact that his mom was a drug user when he was, in the womb, and just, all these other things. They said those mitigating factors were enough to outweigh those aggravating factors. And then the jury exercised their right under Florida law to remove that option of the death penalty from the table. So the judge cannot sentence him to death. Let's see. A lot of people just don't want to kill for fun, right? I think you're talking about hunting, and I understand there are people who, like Elizabeth says, hunting for sport and not food baffles me. There's an argument on both sides here, and I can see both sides. I don't think we're going to have the argument here today unless we have a court case that really focuses on that. I don't think that's one that's easy to have. It is a strongly held one. It's like trying to debate, I don't want you guys to go off on this, but if you're trying to debate either the death penalty or abortion or gun control, it's all, those are issues that are so deeply held on both sides, people on both sides, that it would be hard in this setting where we just have, chat and we can't even tell the tone of things that are said. It's hard to even say what, detect sarcasm on here. It's hard to have a productive discussion about those types of issues that have such strong feelings in this setting. So we'll probably pass on that. But wonderful. I appreciate you guys sharing your opinions. Please just be respectful in chat. That's what we come here for. And I just love that you guys can all be here and participate that way. We've got a ton of people in chat. We're still waiting for the video to come live from New Mexico. I think it's the first one that's going to happen today. And honestly, I've got to tell you, I don't think I'm going to cover this one live today. And the reason being, the courtroom where this is coming out of in New Mexico has it doesn't have a built-in camera system. So they have a news reporter who is what they call a pool reporter. They don't want like 50 cameras, taking up the courtroom and all the noise and the clutter and the confusion from that. And so they let like one cameraman or two cameramen in as pool reporters, and they gather the video for all the sources that want to use it. And they'll share that with all the news media outlets, and they'll share it with Law and Crime and Court TV and everything else. And because of that, you've got one cameraman who basically chooses who to focus on at what times. And those cameramen, because I used to be one, I know as a news cameraman, you want the clip, you want the reaction, you want that moment, and that's good to see, but they really are just editing for like a 30-second news story at the end of the day. They're not really trying to tell the entire story and present and everything the way we want to see it as we're watching remotely, and wish we were right there in the courtroom so we could participate. And so because of that, it's a different quality of video. And it's also from a vantage point that's not very beneficial for us. We get to see the back of the people who are talking to the judge. We don't get to see the videos that are presented, or the displays are limited to what we can see from the angle where the camera is, and the audio isn't very good. But I still think the trial has some redeeming factors just because of the The notoriety of the individual who's charged, Dean Cummings, was an extreme skier. I think I said he was like on the Olympic team, but he was on the U.S. Extreme ski team or something like that, and he won. He's a guy who's famous for sort of pioneering heli skiing in Alaska. It's like, hop in a helicopter, fly up to the middle of nowhere, and jump out on skis and ski down, and then get picked up. So that's what he does. And there's a lot of drama back there. There's back and forth, even in legal issues matters over that, as these different heli-skiing companies are competing for the right to be able to heli-ski in certain federal lands. And that plays a role in this as well. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of his beliefs about nanobots and 5G and Bluetooth and how it's controlling people and things like that. A lot of conspiracy theory worked into that. Michael Stewart says, recovery addict, why is it we pounce on guns but seem to run from dealing with mental illness, which is well documented to be the culprit behind these mass shooters? It's an issue. It's something that I think we can do better. Mental illness is not the pariah that it used to be thought of as. It's something that's much more common. And maybe I used that word wrong, pariah. It sort of slipped out of my mouth before I thought deeply, but it's something that is probably dealt with in each one of your families. There's probably somebody who has experienced some degree of mental illness, whether it was temporary or is ongoing. But it is something we need to talk about, and I think not just in the realm of guns, but just in society as general. So thanks for reposting that, Michael. I'm sorry I missed that the first time. Professor Phil Bell, I messed up your name again. I thought for sure I'd get it right. Professor Phil Bell says, hello again, recovery addict. Welcome. Glad to have you back. Rich Buddy, in California, we have new ammo laws. You can't buy ammo without a background check. I'm sure that helps cut crime. It's an interesting approach. I don't think you'll ever be able to price out criminals from getting weapons or getting whatever they want, whether it's drugs. I think that you'll never make it too expensive to do, but to pass a background check is a different approach that way, where at least they have to have approval. I'm not sure if I like it. I have to look at that. I think it's like a backdoor attack on the Second Amendment, honestly, just a gut feel, to say, yeah, you can own a gun, but you can't shoot it. I think that the right to own guns probably in the Second Amendment, in my interpretation, would inherently include the right to be able to buy ammo with the same level of restrictions. So if there's a restriction on buying the handgun and that's approved in court that it needs a background check, maybe it's justified. But I think it should be focused more on the guns than the ammo personally. It's sort of like it's one step away from actually taxing lead that's used in the bullets and making it so expensive, or putting laws in place that the lead is impossible for companies to make bullets because the requirements are too stringent. It's like a backdoor way of getting something that I think should be handled more directly. MB says, here in Iowa, they have almost eliminated mental health help. My husband is the director of nursing in a max prison, and he says lots of mental health issues are in prison now. It's true. It's true. Patricia says mental illness is not jumped on because that means we need to address for our for-profit healthcare system. Right. That's a whole other realm as we look at the cost of healthcare. Let's see. TW says, recovery addict, when do the criminals get their background check? I know where you're going with that. Yeah. Criminals don't obey laws, right? And so basically the laws that are put on the books to stop crime, if the crime is already illegal and the criminal's willing to break that law, what would stop them from breaking the other law? There's a point where it becomes ineffective to make more laws to stop crime. Arlene says, do you think the Crumbly Parents Trial may be the start to people paying more attention to mental illness issues? I think it's one of them. I think there's a surge of this rising up in the nation, of awareness, of just a way of speaking about it, really. I think it's becoming more normal to discuss it. I think it's not the black mark, the scarlet letter that it used to be, as we see famous people as well, acknowledging that, hey, I was in a bad place, I needed to get help, and I did, type of thing. that I think it's, as it becomes more normal and more normal to talk about it and get help, I think that's when we're going to make the progress on mental illness treatment. Let's see. So Coffee Mom, she's one of the ones that might have a different opinion than maybe TW or some of the others, like Charlie. The Second Amendment isn't about individual gun owners, if we're being honest. There's a group of people that feels that it was talking about, the well-regulated militia. That it's, but there's arguments on both sides of that, with the militia being the people as well. Let's see. True Celtic Mutt says, I did not need a handgun. It is a legal right for any citizen to own a cannon. It's hard to move, though, and I'm crap with my aim with a cannon. I say that because the only cannon I've fired over the last couple of years has been a candy cannon, which is it's basically a metal pipe. You pour some black powder in, put a styrofoam, I think they call it a wad. It's just a blocker that separates the black powder from the candy, and you fill the rest with 5 or 6 pounds of candy, and then you launch it with a fuse, and it shoots candy over a field, and the kids love it. But a little bit dangerous. I'm always nervous every time I do it, but it's fun. Let's see. Criminal Scum says, you can't get emergency mental help here unless you're suicidal or going to hurt someone. That needs to change. Right. I don't think we should wait till the last minute. I don't think we should wait until it's too late to try to treat mental illness. It should be detected and help offered before that. Angie says, not many live trials to pick from. After today, Parkland finish, pickings are real slim. Yeah, we have a couple. We've got, obviously, Sarah Boone got pushed out till January. That's the suitcase murder. The Parkland's going to be done. We're going to talk about a couple news cases, and obviously the ones that are in the news now, like we did with the Delphi issue, those won't be in court for several months as well. But we'll talk about some of those. We'll jump online and we'll find a way to meet up and talk about things that are important to us as a community. Michael Stewart says, Recovery Act. I used to work in a crisis unit. I agree this guy did not fall through the cracks. However, the security attention that school should have applied to this kid failed. Right. The fact that he was in the principal's office basically the day before for bad behavior and the day of for bad behavior, I think they had opportunities to do something. And maybe that's why there's a civil case, right? Maybe that's why there's a civil case for $100 million naming the school in that. Patricia says, most of these school shooters got their weapons legally, though. The criminality occurred after. Let's see. So everyone be nice. We'll step back from the gun control issue just a little bit. I know that it raises blood pressure and the level of shouting in chat. Just remember, we're all here to be respectful, to have fun, to have some conversations, and learn from each other. If we find there's a topic that maybe we can't agree on, that we'll always agree to disagree, let's just agree to leave it like that. Let's not make that the focus, because I think we can do more here together by still being civil than by just drawing our battle lines and holding fast type of thing. Okay, I've fallen behind again. Let's see. Michael Stewart, I got your comment here on that one, I think. Professor Phil Bell. I got it right. Here in Australia, we used to have mass shootings until semi-automatic assault rifles were banned and handguns heavily regulated. Australia, I think, has some of the tightest gun laws in the world. They're very strict. My son actually spent some time there a couple of years back down in Adelaide. He loves that country. Let's see. Everyone just shake hands with your neighbor. It's all right. Smooth Trucking says, let's go over some Judge Judy cases. That'd be awesome. Yeah. I'm open-minded, but I also know you... It says, I'm open-minded, but I also know you have to have lines you will not cross. Right, and I'm not asking anyone to surrender their deeply held convictions. But I am saying that even though we have those convictions and they disagree with each other, let's not lose sight of the fact that we can still work together on other issues, that we can make progress and support each other on things where we do have some commonality. Abby says, recovery addict, the thing with mental health is it can't be seen. Like you can see a broken leg. Yeah, it's hard to see. It's even among family members, it's difficult to detect as its onset can be slow and incremental. And a lot of it is held inside until really it breaks out. Let's see. There's a lot of people here now who need mental help, not prison, you know. Talking to Smooth Trucking. Okay, sorry about that. Alexis has some advice. Hey, everyone, fight nicely. Wear the gloves, or don't wear the gloves. You guys watch hockey at all? Do we have any Canadians in the house? Or hockey fans? A lot of hockey fans in the U.S. tend to be up in the northern areas where we get a little more ice. But what is it with the hockey fights? It's almost like a boxing match. Or you say I went to a fight and a hockey match broke out or something. I totally butchered that saying, but let's see. Michael Stewart says, I'm an avid gun owner in support of the Second Amendment, but I'm for mental health review before a gun purchase. Okay, I agree. We've lit some fires under a few people, and that's not my intent. I live in Adadale, says Danielle. We hopefully will have some court video here soon. We're probably going to wrap up this part for this morning. I'm going to do. I can't do a live summation tonight. I've got some stuff on the schedule that conflicts with that, but I might do a wrap up of what happens on this extreme skier trial, and post it as a video later. But we do have some court cases coming up. We've got some things to talk about for sure, and I've got some homework to do before Saturday's show. We have the Darrell Brooks is going to be back in court on the 15th for sentencing, right, and for his closing statements, which will be interesting as well. Angie says, my mug is in the mail. Yes, thank you so much for buying one, Ann. We do have some mugs out there that are a little extract from the DB trial. If you look on my if you go on eBay and search recovery addict mug, you'll see a little mug that says objection overruled grounds. On it, on the other side, it says true crime addict, and it's a cool little mug. Several of you bought that, and I appreciate that. I don't think I make any money on those. I think I did it wrong, so I think I'm selling them at cost, but don't quote me on that. But hopefully you guys enjoy them. Cakesby says, great stream again. Love the channel, like fellow fam. Yeah, wonderful to be here. You guys are amazing. Am I going to be back this afternoon? Yes, I will. We're going to be live for the Parkland, the finish of the Parkland trial victim statements. And hopefully the sentencing. That might happen today. We might be done with that trial. He may be on his way to the big house by dinner time tonight. I'm not sure for sure. The judge hasn't specifically addressed the sentencing, exactly when that will happen, but it may happen immediately after the victim statements if she's ready. Or we might have a delay. I'm not sure. Totoro says, you have such a great way about you. First time here and happy to have discovered you on YouTube. Well, praise the algorithm, right? I'm glad it brought us together, and welcome. If you do want notifications, I'd love to have you here every morning. We talk about 9 o'clock every morning, and I'd love to have your input. If you have any tips, if you have any cases, even maybe going back a little bit, there are a couple cases that impacted me growing up. I'm talking like Mark Hacking, he was the gentleman that shot his wife and threw her body in the dumpster, and eventually confessed to his brother-in-laws. We might go over some of those things. We might go over some trials that have, or some cases that have had very, very unlikely outcomes, like Elizabeth Smart, where you've got someone who's abducted, a young girl abducted from her house, and just disappears. Is just gone without a trace type thing. The little sister saw the abduction happen, was threatened and basically kept quiet, and then she's kept kidnapped, hiding in plain sight type thing. It would be interesting to cover that, especially in light of what she's done since she was recovered, since she was found, since she was rescued from that situation in the same city that she went missing from. Yeah, but we might talk about that one. There's a lot of stuff we can do. can you ship mugs to what's that flag, Crafty Cow? I'm not familiar with that flag. Let's try to get them around the world. I think you can. I think on eBay they can ship wherever you want. I'll check. But age-old arguments, religion, political, guns. Right. We don't want to make this a place where you don't feel welcome. We want everyone, regardless of your opinion, whether it differs from mine or mirrors mine, to be able to come here and feel comfortable to share their opinions and where they stand in a civil way. And even if we agree or don't agree, I want that to continue. Yeah, Not an Ostrich says, YouTube is promoting you on my page. Well, thank you, YouTube. Who do I send the thank you card to? That's awesome. November 7th, it starts. Valerie, are you Valerie? The Sarah Boone case, you said November 7th. We had a change. Valerie, are you who I think you are? Are you the Valerie I think you are? Anyway, we had a change on Sarah Boone. What happened was her public defender number 6 that she's on, I think his name is Bankowitz, he filed a motion last week, I think it was on Friday, where he asked the judge for a continuance, saying basically, I need more time. We've got to look at some evidence. And he had asked for more discovery from the prosecution, and the judge granted it and said, yeah, I'll give you to January 30th. So it's basically a 3-month, wait as we wait for that to come around. So that's where we are. So we don't have Sarah Boone quite as soon as we thought. It is going to be a fascinating case, just because she's not denying that she put him in the suitcase, right? But she thinks that her whole defense can rest on her saying, "I didn't mean for him to die. I didn't mean for him, to pass away." And I don't think it'll hold up. She's going to run with it. Her defense attorney, public attorney, obviously is going to do her wishes and try to help her as best he can. But the defense that I didn't mean for him to die is going to be a hard sell to the jury when they get to hear a video of him screaming to please have her let him out of the bag because he can't breathe. And she filmed it. And she filmed it twice, and 10 minutes apart. Yeah, how do you have a rational person not accept that could be an outcome when they're hearing constantly the guy saying, "Please, I can't breathe. Please, Sarah, I can't breathe. Please." Yeah, I don't think she can overcome that. I think her own video will condemn her. Abby says, call Recovery Addict's burner phone, 801-513-1160, and leave a message. Yeah, this is the hotline for Recovery Addict. The show. We have people who leave messages. You can do it anytime, day or night. So it doesn't matter when you're watching this replay. It could be 2:00 in the morning. Go ahead and give it a call. Don't worry, it won't interrupt me. It goes straight to voicemail. It has a few instructions there. If you follow those instructions, there's a good chance I'll be able to play what you leave on the air. Just make sure that anything you do leave on there is something you want to be played. Obviously, I won't be giving out or exposing phone numbers or any information that I shouldn't be on that. But if you want to participate in this show by asking a question, that I can play, audibly instead of just my voice reading it, I'd love it. I'd love it if you can participate that way, and I'd love to be able to put a voice to your name that we see in chat. La 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 la. Welcome back. It's good to have you here. It might be good. It might be cool to cover some of the old U.S. Supreme Court cases that set standards in criminal law, like Miranda case. I only know of the audio for those, though. We can talk about those. Little background on law. The first college course I ever took was criminal justice. It was literally the only course I took when I first started in college. I'm not sure if I'm going to like this. I'm only going to take one class. Stupid thing to do. I should have used my tuition money to take the full slate of classes. But I took one class, and it was a criminal law class taught by a judge, a current judge. So he did this in the evenings. And I loved the class. And we covered everything from Hammurabi's Code all the way up through current crime. And the judge said there's one assignment, and at the end of the term, you need to turn in a paper with everything you've learned on it. So here's me, never been in college before, never knowing what to expect. And I took notes like you would not believe. Every word out of his mouth as he lectured every day, because that's all it was just lecture all day, every day of class. I wrote down. And then I wrote a paper at the end of the term. And I don't know if I missed when he told what we were supposed to do, but everybody else in the class turned in a 3 to 4 page paper, and mine was 62 pages long. And I had basically, in my own words, retold the history of law in the world. And he gave me an A for it. But he's like, really, you didn't need to do that. 4 pages was enough. I didn't read the whole thing. It was good. Here you go. So that's a little background there. Let's see. The Patriot Act. We could talk about the Patriot Act a little bit. It's a political one. It has some strong feelings on both sides, and it's one of those acts that has a name that might not match exactly what it does. You might be surprised at what's included in the Patriot Act and how it plays in. Maybe we can look at that. The Delphi case has been in my thoughts for 5 years. Hope you're going to cover proceedings when it comes around. Ferry, we did cover the press conference when they announced that Richard Allen had been arrested. That's a tough case. It's tough because of the child pornography implications and details that are there. That's a rough one to cover. I'm happy for them that they've made an arrest, and especially that they're charging him with murder. Basically, they're not arresting another person that might have been involved in a child pornography ring involving them or targeting them. They've arrested who they think is the murderer. So, big case from here in Utah was the Hi-Fi murders. Oh, the Hi-Fi shop. This was a bizarre. This is like I don't know how to say this, Katrina. The Hi-Fi murders were brutal. Let's put it that way. As far as what they did to these hostages, kicking a ballpoint pen through someone's ear, forcing someone to drink Drano, they were brutal. They were brutal. And I've driven past that Hi-Fi shop, which is still, to my understanding, the shop is still in business. I'm not sure if it's at the same location, but. Yeah, that's a bizarre case with it's some rough things to deal with there as far as brutality. I'm just wondering, how can somebody be so disconnected from society and from each other as as community to see an individual and want to do that to them? I'm not sure if I can cover that one. It's pretty bad. 80s Music Man says, recovery addict, I'd rather look at the judge and DB trial than watch this trial. She has my heart. 80s Music Man, just know the judge, if she's married, I don't know if her twin sister is. So if she has an identical twin sister, you might have a chance. I'm just saying. She's probably married as well, though. Max says, talking about Sarah Boone, she forgot the code on the Samsonite suitcase would be a better defense. Well, that would go against what she's already said. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but it would go against what she said, that she left an opening that he could put some fingers out of, and he could breathe and open it. That's her defense, even though it doesn't match up with the video. She couldn't have locked it for sure. That would really look bad. Chopper says, can you cover the Spanish teacher from Iowa? It's live. Chopper, tell me a little bit about that. I want to Google it. Is there a name? I'm going to check here. Iowa Spanish teacher trial. Bad grade may be motive for Iowa Spanish teacher's 2021 murder. Wow. 2 teenagers, is that what it is? 2 teenagers killed their Spanish teacher over a bad grade? Man, if that was the norm, a lot of my teachers in junior high would have cause for concern. I was not the best student in school. Okay, I'll look into that. Let me look into that. I want to make sure, first of all, that the audio and video is good. Aaron Lynn says, what did you think of Darrell Brooks' trial and his treatment of the judge and whole court? Talk about bizarre. And Aaron, maybe we might go into this on a video, just a video focused on Darrell Brooks, specifically with his the whole defense that he's a sovereign citizen, and the foundation that laid for a lot of the arguments he was making and the motions he was making, because it really all stemmed off that. The way he acted was inappropriate. That's the gist of it. He was disrespectful. He towards the end of the case, he started talking about dishonoring the court and acting with honor. I'm not sure what he thinks honor is, but he was not honorable, and he was not honoring the court with the way he acted. So I may go into that a little bit. That would be a fun one to sort of summarize. Now that we're just about done, we've got just under 2 weeks until he's sentenced. We expect him to be, we know that the calendar shows he's going to be sentenced prior to the anniversary of the event on the 21st of November. We can look at Bundy. Oh man, that's a rough one too. I became interested in true crime with the Diane Downs case. Emma says Bundy admitted to blackout drunkenness during his most heinous acts. That's how he claims he handled those acts. Of course, Bundy versus the truth were not frequently the same. Yeah, we've got that. We can do some bizarre cases that I'm trying to think of the guy's name. It'll come to me. It's a guy who did letter bombs and was killing people. He was a forger, and as people started to catch on that he was forging documents, he started using bombs and killing people basically to stop them from looking into him. And eventually, one of his bombs, whether on purpose or not, one of his bombs went off while he was in the car next to it, and it didn't kill him, but it paralyzed him. He's in prison in Utah, I believe. Let's see. Iowa teacher. Let's see that happened. That case happened 20 miles from you. MB, that might be something to look at, especially if we've got a local slant. If there's something you could explain on that case, that would be great to have you there. Roxanne says Megan Brooks trial, Tennessee, or Letitia Staunch, please. I'd like to do as much as possible. I'd like to do live cases. I'd like to do stuff that we can discuss and sort of vote on as a jury, public opinion jury, and see where that goes. But yeah, let me take some notes here. The live chat goes away for me as well after I shut this down, so I'm trying to keep some notes of everything you're saying. Shauna says, just got to say, I love you guys here. Very good conversation. Respect your opinion. Very well done. Thank you, Shauna. I appreciate you being part of that and making this what it is. Music Man says she's a twin and I'm a twin, so you're saying there's a chance. I'll keep things lighthearted in here. Wonderful 80s Music Man. That's what we try to do. There's heavy stuff that we talk about, and we try to interject wit and comedy when appropriate. Obviously, there are some things that aren't appropriate, and Daryl Brooks might not understand that, but I think we all do. So, Bite Me says DB is a lunatic, plain and simple. He is crazy, and I think his behavior that we saw in court was probably similar to his behavior prior to this incident. I think that was like his character that we were seeing. But the what we saw in court as far as his arguments and his logic, I think that was a very new side of DB that wasn't. I don't think he grew up as a sovereign citizen, for instance. I don't think that was how he faced life and viewed everything. That was probably something he heard in jail. Or read about and decided to adopt. Let's see. John Lucas says, I love the channel, but some of your content is really disturbing. The worst so far, ice cream and the roast meat gravy. Really frightening. John, I appreciate that. I will try to limit discussions of food that should not go together. I hear you there for sure. What do you want to bet that Judge Darrow is saddled with DB for life? He's bombarding her with letters and court filings. Katrina, we saw while the jury was deliberating, or just after that, we saw a side of DB that was bizarre. It was all I can say is it was flirty. He was looking at the judge and smiling and grin, just like it's like, hey, we've got this inside joke. We've spent all this time together. We really bonded. You want to say it or I'll say it. I'll say it. Hey, are we going to address the elephant in the room? Subject matter jurisdiction. And it was just like, oh my goodness. It was like chilling. And I think the judge probably just, shuddered inside. Just like, why would you think that we have any sort of connection, any sort of thing in common other than that we're compelled to be together because you're a creep and I'm a judge. Valerie Andrews says, getting back to work. See you later. Have a wonderful day, everyone. You too, Valerie. Have a great day at work. Look forward to seeing you on the next live stream. Cakesboo has another recommendation. Look at William Tyrell, 3-year-old missing since 2011, $1 million award for information. Oh man. That's a long time. That's a long time to be missing. it's a cold case, basically. I can look into it a little bit, but it's heartbreaking when there's no closure for the family, and especially if he's just gone and they just don't know. That's heartbreaking. We'll look at another case with a 3-year-old as well. That's and the name is escaping me right now. We've got not the Crumbleys. It's in the news right now. We've got a mom who, baby Quinton, 3-year-old who was found dead, or is, I wouldn't say found dead. The police believe they were going to find him dead in the landfill. The search is still ongoing, I think even right now, but they have a specific area of the landfill they're searching. As literally the garbage truck is right outside my window. If you hear that in the background, that was just pure coincidence. But in that case, the mom is claiming she's innocent and she has no idea. She's claiming he was abducted, but there's allegations of abuse or neglect, and there's some very strange behavior in that one as well. So I think that one's a little bit different. Also a 3-year-old, tragically though. Asma, thanks for being here. It looks like you might have stepped out already. I'm a little behind on the timeline here for the chat. Bella says, I really enjoyed the hammer murder of Doctor. The husband did it. In my area, and sheriff in it is my son's boss. Son is sheriff also, Lee County, Florida. Another one out of Florida. You guys seem to have more than your share of strange cases. The flirty thing was creepy, says Patty J. It absolutely was. He made my skin crawl, says Tiffany Lehan. Roxanne, you just spoke my wife's love language. Wendy's fries dipped in a smoothie for her are amazing. And I'll have to say I tried it. And it's not bad, but they don't speak to me like they speak to her. Emma Wass says, Pauline, I found a video of a reporter who talked to her and she discussed the search warrants. I wouldn't let him in because I was afraid of his violence. Pauline, who are you talking about? This is Brooke's mother. It looks like it's a response. That's going to be a tough one. When do they sentence NC? That hopefully, Priscilla, that's hopefully today after the final victim statements, which should end. If you want to watch, we'll be on live today. It's about 1:00, I think. We'll be on a little bit earlier, so just watch for the notification. If you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell, it should come through. But either way, if you just jump on here this afternoon, we should be able to follow that and see the conclusion of that case. Florida Professor Dan Markel is a good case. Is that what type of case is that? Is that a murder case? Let's see. Reptiles says, I think that Darrow has grown a lot during this ordeal with DB. In the future, I think she'll be firmer and faster when she needs to mute defendants. She did great. Really, I think this was probably her first trial where she had someone that was that bad. Probably most previous trials. First of all, in previous trials, I'm sure she's had defendants that have acted out. She's been on the bench since 2011. She's been reelected twice. So I'm sure in that time she's had people that were pretty bizarre that acted out and cussing, swearing, screaming and kicking, did not want to be there, did not want to participate in the system. But most of the times, I'm willing to bet those people had a public defender or a lawyer who represented them. So she could use that contempt. She could throw them in a courtroom or put them in a holding cell and let them watch it on TV. But where Darrell Brooks was his own attorney, he found a loophole, right? A way to be able to force her to let him stay and act out and not punish him. And that was probably frustrating for her. I'm not sure what the laws can do to address that because you have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to an attorney. How do you get around that? Is that going to start a trend of people acting like DB in court? I'm not sure. I hope not. Kenda's correcting me. It says baby Quinton is 20 months old. Okay, so not 3. I apologize for that. I appreciate the correction. I've been wrong before, and I reserve the right to be wrong again. But I thank you very much for that correction, Kendra. Karen Daly says, never heard so many objections as Brooks had. Don't think he had a clue, so just kept throwing it out there. It's true. It's all he knew. At the beginning of the case, the only word he knew was hearsay, right? And so he'd say objection, hearsay, when someone was literally describing what they witnessed firsthand. And not what they witnessed someone else say, but what they witnessed. And it's like, that's not hearsay. And it was frustrating because the judge, is limited in what she can do. She can't give him legal advice. And so she can't really explain, and she hands him the law book, says, look, here's the law book, read it, okay? It will really help you. Here's the page number you want to read, the definition of hearsay. But yeah, as his language, and you watch him through court, Karen, as it went on, he learned more things, and he learned some things from the prosecution. And when he saw things that worked for them, he would adopt them as well. And so his vocabulary, the vernacular of the court sort of grew on him as the case progressed. And he actually got a little better at the interactions, as far as just at the base level. The content was still as bizarre as ever, but yeah, he used up every possible objection I think he could. I'm not sure if there's a single item of evidence that he did not object to. As a matter of fact, he objected, and everything was admitted over his objection. I guess that's one way to reserve your right for an appeal, right? Angie says French fries and mayo, and I became a convert of a spin-off of that, which is like a mayo and ketchup mix. It's available out west, in Idaho, Utah, a few countries or a few states around there, but it's called fry sauce, and I think it's wonderful. I think even you can buy it. It's like some people call it like mayo chup or something, but I love it. It's very good, with pickles, of course. Bella says, no, Deborah guilty, death sentence in videos on Law and Crime Channel. I'll have to look back and look at that one. Yeah. Emwa, still talking about Daryl Brooks, says, can you imagine taking your mate to mama's house and she won't open the door because of the mate's violence? And Erica was well acquainted. Right. We've got at least one charge that Daryl Brooks has been convicted of, others that are pending regarding that violence, as well as a second charge that was dropped in this case just because it would confuse the jury. But, okay, are you covering the Arizona case? I'm watching. You're talking about, are you talking about New Mexico, Michelle? Which Arizona case are you talking about, Michelle Johnson? Let me look at that. I'm looking at New Mexico right now. I'm looking at the extreme skier murder trial. I think he used an AR-15 to shoot 10 times. 2 of them struck and killed this guy he was having an argument with. Oh, that's my seafood sauce, says Cakesboo. Crime shows have been around forever. Objection to every question, says Tom Gillis. Yeah, it was bizarre. I wonder how much time, just like court time, Mr. Brooks' objections added to this trial. Like if you could take those out, like every objection he made that was overruled, if you could just subtract that from the time, how much sooner would it have been completed? Let's see. It's like watching a train wreck. It's horrible, but I can't turn away. Abby, I'm the same way. I have to admit, I watch NASCAR for the wrecks. I don't like people getting hurt, but to me, constantly just driving fast and turning left is not exciting. But the swerving and the confusion and the mayhem during a wreck, that's intriguing for me. I actually, at one point, early in my camera career, I was a cameraman for a group of drivers that drove what we call a figure 8 race. And it's just like you sound. It's just like it sounds. It's a racetrack that's shaped in a figure 8, and the cars frequently have to cross the intersection where other cars are coming the other direction. And they design the cars to be safe, but crashing. It's almost like a crash-up derby in a figure 8 race. And I loved that. It was so much fun. They offered to let me ride in one of the cars in the race, but I just couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to do that. It was too risky for me. But a lot of fun. Let's see. Ferry says, I found DB's behavior highly disrespectful to the victims. Right. The fact that he won't even accept who he is or ownership of what he's done, even after the conviction, is frustrating. But maybe he's just trying to maintain that image for his appeal. Fries and mayo was a thing when I lived in Germany. Never liked it, so I did fries and Tzatziki sauce. I don't know how to say that. TZ. I've never tried that, obviously. I don't even know how to say it, but I will be willing to try it. Why is there no chat open for Iowa teacher? Chopper, what are you talking about? The Iowa teacher? Are you talking about the Spanish teacher? I might look into that. I probably won't go live on that. I'll probably only go live today with the Parkland trial, unless the extreme skier situation just gets crazy, and then we might start following that. Daryl Brooks objects to his own life on this planet, so there's that. He did object to a lot of things. He loved to delay a week, says Tom Gillis. That's his calculation of how much time Daryl Brooks wasted. Nod Nostrich said, so why did he repeatedly say he wasn't Daryl Brooks? Okay, this is a great question because it goes back to a couple things, right? It goes back to his belief as a sovereign citizen. There's some fundamental logic that you have to understand to get to this point of why he said he wasn't Daryl Brooks. And part of that is that, first of all, he believes he's his own man, right? That he sort of rules in his own kingdom, that no one has control over him, that he's not subject to any laws or taxes or, unless he chooses to be, right? So he has complete control over himself. That's the basis of this sovereign idea. So he's exerted this sovereign idea, and also within that sovereign idea, a lot of the beliefs tend to assign a different definition to words that are common to you and me. So that, like the word understand, for instance, if I say, do you understand? You might imply, and rightfully so, that I'm asking if you have a knowledge, if the things that I have said make sense to you, right? Or or at least you have some ability to grasp what I'm saying, right? Whether or not you agree. So the word understand is used a lot in court, especially in the paperwork where they say, do you understand that if you waive your right to an attorney, you won't have help, right? And every time that word understand came up, he would cross it out and say, have knowledge of. Well, to you and me, have knowledge of and understand is probably very similar. He's basically saying, I'm aware of it, but maybe at a level below what we'd consider understanding. So he's got that. So imagine you've got this different set of definitions for words. But in addition to that, he didn't use the word understand because as a sovereign, understand, if you break it apart, it has under and stand, and he doesn't stand under. He's a sovereign. He's his own man, right? I don't stand under anybody. And so he doesn't, because of that word, that's the idea, okay? And you have to get in that mental space to then get the next part about why he didn't say he was Daryl Brooks. He believes that when a name is written all in capitals, it is the name of an entity or a trust, right? And because on the original court filing documents, his name was written in all capital letters, he then said, obviously, you're referring to some trust, which is not me. I'm not a trust. I'm not this entity. Right, I'm a living human being. Right, I'm my own man. I'm a sovereign, and so because those capital letters, he would say, I don't consent to being called by that name because that's not me. I don't know anyone who goes by that name, Daryl Brooks, all in capital letters, and it's bizarre and it's a stretch, it's a reach, but once you have that understanding of where he was coming from his sovereign argument, you can at least see how he got to this point, and if nothing else, he was at least consistent. He kept it up through most of the trial. Towards the end, he didn't make as many objections when he was called Mr. Brooks, mostly when he was, heavily involved in another sort of line of argument. But anytime he had to stop and a break, he'd reset and object about it. So great question, Nod Nostrich. Appreciate that. Angie says, will they air Brooks' other trials? Don't know if I could stomach second trial with Brooks, right? He has, the 17th of November? He's going to be in Milwaukee on 2 charges. I'm not sure. They may air those, but at the same time, if he's in jail for life, does the state really have to, pursue every possible remedy to make sure he's in jail even more than his life? If there's no chance of him getting out, why would the state waste the money to pursue all these charges? Unless for the victim's sake, maybe, but which I think in at least one of the cases it's Erica again. Not sure, but they may air them just because of the interest. Sometimes the judge has a say in that in their courtroom. They can say whether or not they could close it to cameras and things like that. If it brings a spectacle to the courtroom, they may close it. In the state of Wisconsin, says TW, denial of the defendant's right to speak at sentencing is a harmless error when a life sentence without parole is mandatory. So we may not hear from Brooks at all. So we'll see. I hope he doesn't speak. Kenny does not consent to his own name. Hey, you have company there up in Wisconsin. Let's see. No food talk. That made my tummy growl. Shauna, sorry. Lunch is coming soon. It's an hour or two away for me. Haven't decided yet what I'm going to have, but hopefully some sort of pickle will be involved. But he only became a sovereign citizen after he was in jail. Right, Pauline, I think that's what we were getting at. You probably timed this message perfectly appropriate for the conversation. I'm just now getting to it, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it was something that seemed new to him. He just adopted this belief. And I don't think he even understood it fully, which is why he had these scripts that he was reading from so often. That even one time, I remember towards the end when the judge was asking for appearances, the state gave their names, and they got to him, and she's like, "Sir," and he's looking hunting for the paper. He's like, "Hang on, I don't know who I am." And it was sort of funny because he had to have the paper in front of him to read it, because it wasn't a belief that really he could just spout off from the heart because of his conviction. I think we're getting a couple messages. I'll check that for the live stream this afternoon. But he is supposedly bringing 20 friends and family for sentencing statements. Laura, that was bizarre because he doesn't know the process, right? This is all new to him. So every time something happens, he's like, "So what are we doing? What is this about? Explain what that means." But as soon as he was sentenced, right? Not sentenced, but as soon as he was found guilty by the jury, basically from the moment he left the courtroom until 10 minutes before he was back in front of the court for this hearing, he was on suicide watch, which included no phone calls. So we know he's been just by himself, with under 24-hour monitoring. I don't know where he got these 20 family friends idea from. We know that he said earlier in the trial that on his defense side that if he wants his mom to be here, all he has to do is tell her and she'll be here, and she wasn't, even though he said that she would be. So I don't know if we'll have 20 or if we'll have no one. Either one could happen, but I doubt we'll have more. I'll tell you that. Lori says, "I'm driving, but I'll be listening to you. Please drive safe, Lori. Appreciate having you here. Wonderful for that." It's distancing language and behavior. Sometimes the horror of what happened is too much for the accused to face. That was possibly what we saw in the Parkland shooter trial, where when certain video and audio was played in that trial, the defendant plugged his ears and wouldn't look. But in this case, aside from a couple brief and oddly timed moments of emotional, being overcome with emotion, Darrell Brooks never seemed to even acknowledge or recognize the harm that happened. Lawyers in the house, everyone behave. Matthew Harris, welcome. Good morning to you. Glad you could make it. Hope everything in court's going great for you today, and all your clients are either innocent or guilty, whichever one you're fighting for. Let's see. Max says, "Lifers that kill in prison." Let me highlight this one. "Lifers that kill in prison go to court just to get out a while." It's just like because what can happen, especially if the state only has a life sentence? The worst you can get sentenced to is more time, which you can only serve one life sentence. But it just gives them a break, a change of scenery, which possibly is why they're so dangerous. Which if you have nothing to lose, what's the harm? Who are the 20 people that are going to vouch for him? His rapper mates? Not his cousin. I think one of the cases Darrell Brooks is on trial for is for shooting at his cousin. He'll blame it on the judge. Not enough time. They want nothing to do with his crazy. Right. I think for sure he's going to file appeal on not enough time because he fired his lawyers 3 days before his trial started. But yeah. We will see appeals from him for sure. I don't think any of them will go anywhere, but we'll see him appeal. Don is saying his rap buddies are going to show up. We expected him to rap his closing statement, but that never happened. The Crumblies. Chandra, we will be watching the Crumblies. We'll probably talk about them later this week when we have a little bit of a lull. Obviously, that's going to raise a hot button issue because it's a gun issue, right? It's a mental health issue case. It's a gun issue. It's a school shooting. It's a bad situation, but we want to look at that, especially because it's unique in those cases. It's unique, especially as having a parent or both parents being charged for something the child did, for their role in that. Brooks watched all the videos. He did, almost detached, disinterested, and he was watching for things that he could question witnesses on. Nothing. I've said this before, but nothing in Mr. Brooks's defense or cross-examination resembled anything of him putting up a defense. Everything was to get at and question the witness, almost as if the witness was on trial. It was bizarre. Not Ostrich says, "I've been a juror on an inmate trial." Wow. Was it a serious one, or was it like attacking a guard? Was it a murder trial? I'm curious. The Arizona case was on Crime and Law, started yesterday. Michelle, is that which one is that? Let me see if I can do a quick search. Are you talking about the New Mexico? Okay, I don't see it just right off the bat. But if there is a case that's on that's interesting, I'd love to talk about it. It is nearly NC trial time. What time are you there in the UK? It's 14:49, says Karen. Right now, I'm at 10:50, so I'm a minute ahead of you and a few hours behind you. So that's where we're at. Trial time here is, I think it's 1. So I think we've got about 2 hours before the Parkland trial starts. We'll be on a little bit sooner than that, or maybe later if it's an hour, if 2.5 hours. But that's about the time frame. We will be following that here on the channel. Reptile says, here in Sweden, nobody has a weapon. School massacres has still happened here, but since the weapon used as a knife, the injured and killed were only a few. Oh yeah, it's still heartbreaking. I mean, the outcome for those families is still devastating. Their loss is just as real. But yeah, when the weapon requires the perpetrator to be right next to the victim, it limits it. It's a time thing. It's a reach. It lowers the threat area to just them, and it does typically end up in fewer attacks. Although we have seen some knife attacks where a lot of people got hurt. Alexis says, I wish someone would make a compilation of all the outrageous moments in the DB case. I'd love to see them all together. Alexis, it would be about a 2-day video, just because everything was bizarre, so much to the point that some of the bizarre things we would have just, like, our jaws would have dropped had we seen it, the first time it happened. They became the norm. But yeah, I'd love to see, just a couple statistics on the trial, like how many times he was removed from the courtroom, how many times the jury, had to stand up and leave. The shortest time they were in the room, I think, was 5 or 6 seconds. But how many miles they walked back and forth from the jury room. I'd love to hear some of that information, just as we got to see part of it, and that intrigues me as well. Let's see, there are a few out there, a few cases. And Chandra says, hearsay equals when you hear what I say. That's the Darrell Brooks Law Dictionary. That's the definition he's working from. That explains so much, Chandra. Thank you. Angie says, I think the Parkland is starting at 1:30, but never on time. And you're right, this judge is frequently late. We saw that yesterday as well. So we'll probably be there before she is, for sure. Rick Thomas says, is there a difference between someone giving a gun to someone or keys to a vehicle? Both are deadly weapons. There is a difference. I don't think we can go into it right now. And obviously, we've had a little bit of a heated discussion about guns, and I don't want to have that be the norm here. So we're trying to just reset just a little bit. So maybe give us some time before we talk about that one. We want everyone here to have civil conversations and share and feel welcome and at least listen respectfully to opinions that differ from theirs. But we'll bring that up in another case, probably with the Crumbleys, most likely, because that is, that's the heart of the matter. They gave their son a gun 4 days before he did a school shooting, even knowing that he had mental illness issues. The finger-giving witchy look defense attorneys was so obviously doing that and then left. I missed something in there, Love Pet. Write that again as you would for a 6-year-old and type it for me, and I'll get it the next time. Seeing the attorney give the finger. Oh, yes. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Of all the things you don't do, and then turning to a accused killer and laughing about it in court. Yeah, that's going to live on the internet forever. Not sure how that's going to affect her career. Imagine Brooks talking back to the Parkland judge. Hey, flip it the other way. Imagine Judge Darrow in the Parkland trial. How would that be different? That would be fantastic. Love Pet says, when we had a brown bag law when I first came to North Carolina, it was bring your own. Now I don't drink. And we were talking about some strange laws in different states. And one of them is that alcohol has to be in a brown bag when you buy it, so nobody can see what it is. Although we all know, type thing. Abby, thank you as my dedicated cheerleader from the UK. I appreciate you as always. It's wonderful to have you here. Tina says, recovery addict, why didn't DB claim this was a crime of passion? It is because there were so many victims. Tina, I don't think you can have a crime of passion where you're acting out and hurting other people. I think a crime of passion would have to be like, for instance, if he had found his girlfriend or wife with another man type thing, and the crime of passion would be killing that other man or killing the girlfriend or something like that. That's where you could have crime of passion come in, where this was a crime of rage, but the basis of the argument even that he had with Erica was over money. It was over money that supposedly she was holding for him or should have for him, and not getting that money. So I don't think that would qualify. There was just too much information, too much evidence to a contrary cause. Ferry says, I was in an antique auction yesterday, but had you in my ear listening along. I nearly accidentally bid on an item by mistake. What was the item, Ferry? That is hilarious. I love that there are moments in this that make you just want to jump up and raise your hand. But tuck that bidder card in and don't bid unless you want it. I like antiques as well, so I'm curious. Abby's waving her pom-poms over there. That's wonderful. We might have to if we get monetized, if we monetize the channel, we might have to make some pom-poms for Abby as a special sticker. Katrina says they've changed the alcohol laws just recently, doing away with the lower point restrictions. You have to go to a state-run liquor store. It's not sold in grocery stores. Katrina, that's talking about Utah still. Utah alcohol laws, they are strange. I know here in North Carolina, we have a lot of the similar laws. We have state-run liquor stores. They say ABC on them for the alcoholic beverage control. Florida prisons do have AC now, says Not an Ostrich. Is that a new development for them? That would have been brutal in the Florida humidity and heat without AC. Shauna says, I'm sorry, but I love the judge in the Parkland trial. A little inexperienced, but she's done well. Crazy hard case. Yes, she is young. She's young. And the judge in the extreme skier trial in New Mexico is also young. 3 women, amazing judges, all 3 of them. So it's really fun to watch them run their courtroom in their different manners. Katrina says, we used to drive to Idaho or Wyoming for liquor and lottery tickets and fireworks. Katrina, don't forget fireworks. I know Utah has some very restrictive laws about fireworks, and Evanston has a big firework factory. And I remember driving through there. All the license plates in the fireworks store were from Utah. I think Alex's dad said something about children. Shauna, he did. He brought up the lawyer's children. And someone can correct me or give me some more information on this. I believe that lawyer's children had some sort of connection to a school shooting, or it was presented that they were the same age as something, or they had been in a school where they'd been shooting, or something like that. I didn't follow that part closely, but the lawyer had brought up that information in trial, in open court. She presented that in front of the jury type thing. That's what they were talking about her experience and her level of understanding because of this, because of her children. So yes, Alex's dad, was that Max? He did say something about those children. It wasn't attacking the children. It was basically saying, you having these children, you should know better. I think if I'll have to go back and check, but that's something that I did see. So the judge was saying basically because he mentioned those children, it was about something in the court case. It wasn't just bringing in, threatening someone's children type thing. Ann says, recovery addict. Parkland judge, this was her first murder trial. She's still very green. She is. She's young. I think she's handling it remarkably well, considering. I mean, she's got her hands full, but it's interesting. I wonder after the fact if there's going to be any consequences for maybe something she did wrong or didn't do right. I don't think it's thrown the case. First of all, I don't think the Parkland defense team will try to appeal this conviction because they got what they were going for, and if they appeal and go back to a new trial, if they win the appeal and get a new trial, then isn't death penalty back on the table? I mean, that's what they were trying to avoid. So. Reptile says, recovery addict, I've listened to all the victim statements, but I didn't hear any phrases from anyone threatening the defense's children. Where did someone say that? Please inform me. I think that's what Shauna was responding to. I think it was Max, or maybe it was earlier, but there was somebody who said, so-and-so, you have children, you should know better, or something like that. It was a brief, it was about that quick, from my recollection. Let's see. Jody says, West Coast is waking up. Hi, lurking as I drink my morning tea. Fairy's telling us a little bit about the painting she accidentally almost bid on when she was listening to the show the other day at an auction. Apparently something we said or someone said excited her enough that she just about raised her hand and accidentally bid on a 500 pounds painting in an antique auction. That is really funny. I'm glad you didn't buy it if you didn't want it, but had you bought it, that would also still be funny. Let's see. MB, recovery addict, did you say yesterday we could also text your number on here? I hope so. I just did. Yes, you can, and I did get your text. I'll read it. I don't want to read it on the air until I make sure that there's nothing in here that you wouldn't want me to share. It looks like you're giving me a tip about Fairfield, Iowa. Okay, I'll look into that. You've got a link there as well. I really appreciate that. That's the Spanish teacher situation. But thank you very much for that, MB. I appreciate that. I will definitely look into that. That might be one we look at. Ola is back. She says, hi, gang. Ola, thanks for the contact outside of this as well. I appreciate you and what you add to this channel. Thank you very much. And Katrina's going on. Katrina, I think you said you live in Utah, and she's talking about all the things that are illegal there and are legal all around the state. Wendover, Nevada is directly west of Salt Lake City, Utah. I think it's like 210 miles, and you're driving just through the salt flats. It's just a barren wasteland, mostly straight the whole way. But as soon as you get to that border, you've got casinos, which aren't legal in Utah. So that's something that's frequent, even so much that there are like buses where you can hop on a bus with a bunch of other people, and the bus will take you out to Wendover and bring you back, so you can gamble that way. Let's see. What reviewer says, what time is the next statement session for Parkland parents? Okay, so the last one, this is the final one. It begins today, and it should be, I think it's 1 or 1:30. Ann was saying 1:30. The judge is often late, though, so we don't know exactly, but we'll be back here. So roughly in about 2 hours, we'll be back live, and we'll try to watch that and keep up to date on that. The lawyer in question was McNeil, says Laura. Let's take a look here. She brought them up numerous times that surrounded her book on the trial. The chubby lawyer began arguing with the judge and said it just went downhill from there. Laura, you're talking about the Parkland, the back and forth, right? We had, in addition to the children comment that was raised, which really I didn't think was very offensive, the way it was raised from this victim statement. They brought up the book deal, right? The book tour that somebody's doing. And I don't know the facts of that, if that's just a rumor, but man, the accusation that the defense is already, going to cash in on this trial, that resonated with them, and they did not like it. Danielle updates us and says, not all states have a crime of passion clause. It's one of those differences from state to state. So make sure you know the state laws before you commit the crime, right? Alexander says, can the Parkland judge issue the death penalty? Prior to 2016, I believe the answer would be yes. But in 2016, the state legislature changed the laws in Florida where the judge can no longer override the jury verdict. In this case, the jury has returned the verdict in such a manner that it precludes her from issuing the death penalty, regardless of how she feels. Which she probably will let us know how she feels during the sentencing, which might come today. So we might get all these answers very soon. Some stores in Mitchell County, North Carolina can't sell alcohol. Strange place. Used to be a dry county. 1 hour beer runs are getting old. Yeah, we do have some old laws on the books in a lot of places. Reviewer, did that answer your question? We're looking at about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, roughly that area. Let's see. Donna gives an update. The Pike, we're not following Pike, the Pike murders. You guys are welcome to. I just haven't been following it on the channel here. Cummings, that's the extreme skier. We're waiting for that one. That begins like right now. We still don't have a live feed yet. And then cruises at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Donna, thank you for the TV guide version of the update for today, but that's very accurate. Thank you very much. Alexa says, I feel this was a pretty fair trial considering the publicity of it. Now that the jury has reached a verdict, what could they possibly appeal on after the fact? Alexis, are you referring to the Parkland trial or the DB trial? I think it's Parkland. That's what we're talking about. But I don't think they will appeal. If they appeal and try to say they want a new trial because something wasn't fair, that puts the death penalty back on the table, and then the prosecution gets another bite at the apple, so to speak. But I don't think they will. Shauna says, silly question, but can the governor do anything to overturn the jury? I mean, can he save the life? Shauna, you might be talking about the governor intervening on a death penalty. And the governor I believe in most states, if not all, has the authority to pardon someone. And so they can issue a pardon and stay in execution that way. But the governor wouldn't have the power to order someone to be executed that is sentenced to life. They can't upgrade that way. Heather Bennett has a clarification. Thank you for doing the homework on this. She says, recovery addict, I believe he said, if it was your children, you would have been in his shoes, basically, and then said, shame on you. Not quoting, that's what I remember. Okay, that's in the lines that I remember as well, Heather, so thank you for that clarification. It looks like other people remember it similarly, but I appreciate you typing that out for us so we can just recall. That's what they're saying was the attack on the children, just the fact that they brought them up in that setting. Max brought up the book tour, and I think that's what the defense team got the defense team in an uproar. Interesting if true, they should not be able to benefit off this. Melody, as despicable as that is, I'm one of those guys that thinks it's okay. I won't buy the book. I wouldn't want anyone else to buy the book. But this isn't Nicholas Cruz benefiting from his crime. This is someone who got stuck in this trial. Granted, they're a public defender. They chose this profession, but they got assigned to this case and basically said, here's what you will do for your job. I don't like the way they did it, but that is their job. And if they are able to write a book off that, I'll let them, but I hope nobody buys them at the same time. That's where I stand there. Different story, though, on Nicholas Cruz. I don't believe that the defendant, the convict in this case, should be able to profit from a crime that caused so much pain. Really, any time that there's an injured party, somebody that's experienced a loss because of a criminal action, I believe that any proceeds or profits from that should go to the people who experienced the loss. And there will be civil trials. There already all are, but there will be more civil trials to make sure that there's no profit there on the part of the defendant or the convict. Okay, still waiting for that extreme skier trial to kick off. I don't think we're going to stick around for that together here. Let's see. I want to know where NC got those serial killer glasses. Those are some pretty thick glasses. I don't know if that was part of the defense image they wanted to present. But speaking of glasses, holy cow! Did you see the lady who testified? One of the victim statements. She had the square and the round glasses. Those have got to be the hottest item right now online. If you can find those, she was amazing. She was eloquent. First of all, she did an amazing job. But she has just a unique style that we're seeing with every single victim statement as they come up. Just their different perspective, their different background, as they share this information. But it was neat to see that. Says another fascinating case. Mark Dreyer, a lawyer who committed outrageous financial and securities fraud. Documentary about it. Unraveled. The American Greed episode was better. The American Greed episode was better. I'll have to look at that one. Is that one open and shut as far as the verdict goes? You can see the disappointment when she read the first verdict in the Parkland case. Man, yeah. I think the judge did betray her true feelings in that, and we're seeing that more and more as we get towards the end. Probably not as professional as maybe Judge Darrow would have been in that situation, but she's young, she's new. I still don't think she's overstepped any bounds, at least that I've seen. Let's see. Who has the book? I think we're talking about the book tour. What book tour are they talking about? Does someone have some information specifically on where that information came from? I'm like 99% sure that there was nothing presented in court about these lawyers later. Hey, by the way, if you want to have more information, I'm going to do a book deal. That would be highly, highly inappropriate. But it may have done outside of court, or maybe something leaked from a publisher or something like that there was a book coming. Donna says the reason for killing the Spanish teacher is bad grades. Yeah, that one we're going to look into. I've got that link from that's Iowa, right? Or Des Moines Register is the link for the story. Thank you, MB. I appreciate that. The glasses are on Amazon, says Tanya Square. Are they? Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm glad you mentioned those glasses. I thought I was hallucinating. They're awesome. They're probably going to be sold out. They're amazing. Listening to all of the family's remarks about how the justice system let them down broke my heart. One of the family members mentioned he was going to change that. Right. I think that was Max. And correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but Max, I believe, is in some sort of local government office. Think of like a city council or a commissioner type role. You could tell by the way he spoke. First of all, he gave his closing arguments. His statement could have been the closing argument in this case. It was very eloquent. It was very well worded, put together, very well logical. It did, cross the boundary a little bit from what it was supposed to be. But yeah, he's basically dedicating his life to changing the things that he saw was unfair in this system, or he felt wasn't right. So he's going to be pursuing that in the future as well. One of the witnesses said Cruz and his defense team should write a book. It was sarcasm. Is that the basis of it, Allie? Was that basically is that where it stemmed from? Okay. All right. So here's what we've got.
Hey,
wrong sound. We just played the wrong guy again. Let's do this one. Let's go ahead and take a break. We have the Parkland trial coming up. I know the extreme skier trial should go live any minute now. I'll keep an eye on that one as we get closer to the Parkland closing statements, or the final victim statements in the Parkland case. I'll be here for that. Hopefully you guys can return and join me on that. I appreciate all you guys being here. This is so much fun for me. I really love it. It's grown into something I hope I can continue doing full time. This is really just a dream come true for me. So thank you so much. Every single support, every single follow, every single comment, every single subscribe, it means the world to me. And I just want to thank you guys for being here and doing that. Hopefully we can continue to have what we have here into the future. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. TW says, spectacular stream. You guys made it that way. Thank you very much. Bye, Ann. Thank you for being here. Alexa says, yes, see y'all at 1:30. I'll be here on a little bit earlier. I want to just be able to catch up a little bit, especially if something happens about this, what Charlie's talking about, the extreme skier trial, which should be going live out of New Mexico any moment now. I'm watching the feed right now. Still don't have a feed on that, but that's going to be bizarre. Hugs to everyone. So good. Thank you. Hugs to everyone. Thank you. Hope to see you on later. Please hit the thumbs up on the way out. That would be great. Appreciate you, Abby, as always. The word for the day is pickle. Pickle sandwich break. Yes, I think I'm still out of pickles. My kids, unfortunately, they also have the love for pickles that I do. And so pickles go fast in the house. But I still have those pickled jalapenos. We might have to go with those again. So we'll see you about at 1 o'clock or so. Please ring the bell on your subscribe button, and we'll see you when you get back. Thanks. Hug everyone you know, you love. You guys, virtual hug to all of you. We'll see you here in the afternoon.